My friends, we are watching the death of old, standard, established conservative media. The Shapiro era is over. It's over. That is it. It is done. It's not like, oh no, it's going to be over. No, it's over. This is the end. We are seeing the end of the pro-Israel media empire. The thing is that the monster that is forming right now, which is the Hitlerite monster, this revived Hitlerism that's forming right now, is simply a next stage. It is another development from what we have been used to. So we've been used to, for the last 10 years, and I know it's been 10 plus years since Ben Shapiro blew up in fame. It's been a lot longer since Mark Levine was famous. Now, maybe you guys are too young to remember this, but Mark Levine used to be super famous. I don't think people realize how famous Mark Levine was, but Mark Levine wrote a book back in, 2009, 2010, called, I think it's called Liberty and Tyranny or something like that. And that book was a massive bestseller. I don't know, I think it sold millions of copies. It was one of the biggest bestsellers of its time. It was huge. Mark Levine was accelerated to becoming the #1 radio host at one point in time. Mark Levine was on top of the world. Back in 2015-16, Ben Shapiro was on top of the world. So we got accustomed to that. That was our conservatism for a 10 plus year bracket of time. And what type of problematic ideas was Ben Shapiro spreading? Well, he was telling us to support Israel. Mark Levine was telling us to support Israel. They were promoting Zionism. And now that Israel has been openly just doing genocide out in the open, shamelessly, and you have all these soldiers giving their testimonies about how they were told to murder civilians, they're still supporting Israel. They don't care. They haven't even had a change of heart. And they still want us to support this murderous, evil regime, this murderous, evil country. And so they have shown their true colors. So when they were famous, they were telling us to support Israel. And a lot of us bought into that. Support Israel, yes, yes. And Ben Shapiro was telling people that Arabs are the primitive barbarians who live in shit and who only know how to destroy things, which is bullshit. I mean, listen, I'm Levantine myself. My father comes from the Middle East, I can tell you. I don't sit here thinking about destruction. I don't. I garden for fun. I like watching things grow, Mr. Shapiro. I wonder if Mr. Shapiro gardens. I would imagine that gardening is too inconvenient for him. He much prefers to just sit in his house all day talking. But I like to garden. I like to read. I like to write. I'm not sitting here bent on destruction, as Mr. Shapiro wants you to think. But Shapiro was spreading racism. Now, he wasn't screaming, hey, we need white nationalism, but he was promoting racism. And he was telling us to support an evil government, an evil country called Israel. So what's the next step, right? So we got that. America, yeah, patriotism, yeah, America. And so that was a phase that we went through. It was a phase that we went through for decades, actually. For decades, we've been accustomed to this patriotic America, or American patriotism that is synchronized with Zionism. So now we are transitioning out of that phase. That's what we're going through right now. We're going through a transition out of that phase and into a new phase. And this new phase is a mix of American patriotism that is anti-Israel. It's not pro-Israel. It's anti-Israel. It's America first. So Levine and Shapiro and all the rest of them, they told us to be patriotic for America. And we listened. We were patriots for America. And then we realized the pro-Israel lobby. And many of us read a book called The Israel Lobby by John Mearsheimer. And if you have not read the book, The Israel Lobby by John Mearsheimer, Maybe I have it with me right now. Is it behind me? I read this book. This book came out in 2007 or 8, I believe. I read this book in 2018. I started reading this book because I began to realize, I read this book in 2018, but it was in a phase that I was going through when I was phasing myself out of Zionism. And this phase began at around 2013. It's a very long story, but I read this book. And if you haven't read this book, you should, because it's very good. It's very informative. A lot of us read this book. And when I was reading this book in 2018, I was doing videos about what I was reading in this book. And one thing that I realized as I was doing all those videos, and I still have those videos. I keep telling myself to upload those videos. I have them in an external hard drive. I have to re-upload them because they were great videos. But one thing that I noticed as I was uploading those videos was that a lot of people were agreeing with me. A lot of people were agreeing with me. I was getting a lot of comments from people saying, agree, agree, agree. Amazing. Thank you so much for this video. And so I began to realize in 2018 that America was going through a massive phase. It was going through a massive transition even then. And it was a transition from American patriotism that's tainted with Zionism to America First patriotism. And I'll never forget this. I've told the story before, but I'll recount it to you guys again. I remember one night, it was at around maybe 9:30 p.m. or so, and I was sitting at the couch with my dad in the living room. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, one day the entire world is going to wake up to Israel. And the reason why I told my dad that was because I was doing all these videos on the Israel lobby, and I realized that a lot of people were agreeing with me, and I was beginning to feel the zeitgeist. I was beginning to feel the vibes. And the vibes were telling me that we were going through a massive transition. And I told my dad in 2018, I said, the entire world is going to wake up to Israel. I said, it's going to happen all over the world, not just in the Middle East. I mean, the Middle East has been there for a very long time. But I'm not talking about the Middle East. I'm talking about the Western world. The entire Western world is going to wake up to Israel. And I was right. Because once 2023 happened, boom, we saw it. Just an entire wave, an entire massive shift took place against Israel in 2023. But you see, it was building up for a long time. And then once 2023 happened, October of 2023 to be specific, happened, that wave manifested itself. So we're going through this phase now. And the American right is going through a civil war between those who say, no, let's be American patriot Zionist. And on the other side, you have, no, let's be America first and not Israel first. And I'm telling you right now, the Israel first people, the pro-Israel people, the Shapiroites and the Levinites, or the Levites, the Mark Levinites, those people are losing, and they are going to lose. And the Tuckerites and the anti-Israel people are going to win. They are currently winning, and they are going to vanquish their opposition. And they are going to solidify themselves as the dominating political faction in the United States. We're going through this phase. So the Hammerites, the Levinites, the Shapiroites, they're on their way out. Even the Crowderites. Steve Crowder's on his way out. Steve Crowder's on his way out. He is. That guy is on his way out. He's still trying to push Zionism. He's still trying to push all this stuff. That guy is on his way out. You can see it. He attacked... Now, this is so strange. He did a video against Candace Owens recently. And he called Candace Owens an evil cunt. Now, Candace Owens is way more popular than Steve Crowder. Steve Crowder does a live stream. He gets tens of thousands or 100,000 views or so, somewhere around there. He doesn't get millions of views for a live stream. Candace Owens does one live stream. She gets over 2 million views easily. She gets over 3 million views at times. I've never seen someone get those numbers for live streams. Never. Crowder does a video recently against Candace Owens, calling Candace Owens an evil cunt. The video had over 2,000 dislikes. Not likes, dislikes. 2,000. And I could only find 2 comments disagreeing with Crowder. You're telling me you get over 2,000 dislikes for a video where you're going against one of the most famous figureheads for American conservatism, and I can only find 2 comments disagreeing with you? Crowder, I think, is deleting comments because he doesn't want people to think that a lot of people disagree with him. I'm pretty certain this guy is deleting comments. And so I went on to Crowder's Twitter page, his X page, and he uploaded an excerpt of the video where he's calling Candace Owens an evil cunt. And I didn't watch the excerpt. I just went straight to the comments. And there were a lot of comments. And almost every single comment that I saw was against Crowder. So on X, almost everyone is against him. But on YouTube, it's all just people agreeing with him? Really? Virtually everyone agreeing with him? I find that very hard to believe. Very hard to believe. So Crowder is on his way out. Shapiro is on his way out. Now, I'll tell you guys something else that's very interesting. Something that's very interesting about the way that conservatism works. Well, I remember back in 2011, 2012, there were these right-wing media outlets that everybody wanted to be published on, right? Everybody wanted to get their articles published on these websites. You had WorldNet Daily, which was one of the biggest conservative websites on earth at the time. We're talking 2012, 2013, 2011. WorldNet Daily was one of the most read websites in the entire country. You had Front Page Magazine, which was one of the most read websites in the entire country. You had American Thinker, which was a massive intellectual conservative website. Very famous, very popular. People who wrote articles in the early 2010s wanted to get their stuff published by these websites. American Thinker, Front Page Magazine, WorldNet Daily. When you fast forwarded into, let's say, the years 2014, 15, 16, people wanted to get their stuff published by Front Page Magazine, Breitbart, The Daily Wire, The Blaze. These were all massive websites. I remember back in 2011, 2012, I wanted so badly to get my work published on the American Thinker, because the American Thinker was intellectual, it was intelligent stuff, so I thought. And I thought, wow, if I can get my stuff published on the American Thinker, I could really show myself as a true intellectual. I could really feel fulfilled as an intellectual. So I remember I wrote this article comparing the Aztec Empire to the Nazi Empire. How they were both empires that had a religion of death. They were both anti-human. They were both murderous. I sent the article over to the American Thinker. I said, it was a long article too. Here's an article comparing the Nazis to the Aztecs. I get an email back from them saying, this is not really the work that we're looking for. And, this whole idea of comparing the Aztecs to the Nazis or whatever, it's not really adequate. We don't really like that sort of thing. And they just pissed all over my article. And I felt, I felt bad. I'll be honest with you. I felt rejected. And now I look back at the American Thinker and I think, What numbers are they getting now? How many readers is the American Thinker getting now? Nothing. It's garbage. It's dead. Look at the Twitter account for the American Thinker. If you don't believe me, I'll show you guys. Here is the official page for the American Thinker. 60,000 followers. Let's look at their posts. So they were sharing this post, so this one doesn't count. So American Thinker posts this meme up. They're trying to be funny. Anti-Mamdani stuff, which is very typical. And look at this. 268 views, 2 likes, 0 shares, 1 comment. This is the American Thinker. This was the prestigious American Thinker that everyone wanted to get their work published on. Everyone wanted to get published by the American Thinker, I remember. Oh, I'm going to send my article to the American Thinker. Oh my God, the American Thinker. They're not. They're dead. They're dead. They're old relics from the past. They're nothing. Look at this. Here's another article published by the American Thinker. 310 views, 1 like, 2 shares, 0 comments. Let's look at this one. Here's another post by the American Thinker. 295 views, 7 likes, 1 share, 0 comments. No, they're dead. Dead ass websites that are just old relics from the American Christian Zionist past of the 2010s and the early 2000s. Here's another post. 334 views, 10 likes, 1 share, 1 comment. 299 views, 2 likes, 0 shares, 0 comments. I can go on and on and on. It is a dead website. Look, anti-Tucker Carlson material. 292 views, 1 like, 2 shares, 0 comments. Now let's look at another website that used to be very, very famous. Let's look at Front Page Magazine. Front Page Magazine. This used to be one of the most read news websites in the country. Let's look at their stuff. 2.8 thousand views. That's a pinned one. So they pinned this last month. So I'm not going to count this one. Let's look at this one. Here's another one. Here's a post 7 hours ago. 426 views, 5 likes, 5 shares, 0 comments. 574 views, 0 likes, 1 share, 0 comments. Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, right? 783 views. You would think this would get a lot of views. 783 views. That's the best they're going to get. 4 likes, 1 share, 0 comments. Anti-Mamdani stuff. Very typical, very standard, cookie-cutter conservatism here. 485 views, 4 likes, 4 shares, 1 comment. A dead-ass website. Dead! It's a dead website. Let's see PJ Media. PJ Media used to be one of the biggest things in conservatism. This is a pinned one from May 6th. So I'm not going to count this one. May 6th. 1 hour ago. 353 views. 5 likes, 2 shares, 0 comments. 328 views, 1 like, 1 share, 0 comments. 301 views, 4 likes, 0 shares, 0 comments. Dead website. Dead. And this was one of the websites that a lot of people back in the day wanted to get their stuff published on. They wanted to be published by PJ Media. Oh, PJ Media, PJ Media. Dead, dead, dead. Old relics. Old relics. The old ruins of American Zionism can be witnessed by online archaeologists like myself. Old, dead websites. Old stuff. It's dead. Old stuff. They can attack Candace Owens and Tucker and Megyn Kelly all they want. They are going to die. Figuratively speaking. Their empires, their media empires are crashing down. They're crashing down and they're burning. And that's it. Bottom line, that is it. Old stuff. Old news, guys. I mean, we can get into other websites. The Blaze. I mean, can we look at The Blaze? What's The Blaze? How's The Blaze doing? Here's the official page of The Blaze. 1 million followers. Started by Glenn Beck. And Glenn Beck was on top of the world. Do you guys remember the early 2010s? Glenn Beck was on top of the world. He was worshipped by the conservatives. Everybody loved Glenn Beck. Everyone loved Glenn Beck. This is his media empire. This is his media empire that he started. 1 million followers. Let's see how The Blaze does, shall we? 52 minutes ago, 4.8 thousand views. Now, 4.8 thousand views is a lot for someone who's got maybe a few thousand followers. But this is a disaster for a media empire that's worth millions of dollars and that has over 1 million followers. Let's look at this one. 5,000 views, 9 likes. Guys, this is a disaster. 4 shares, 4 comments. Let's look at this one. 6.1 thousand views, 24 likes, 7 shares, 7 comments. Disaster. This is a disaster. Look at this. They're going against Candace Owens. They're fighting a losing battle. They're fighting, you see, the reason why they're fighting a losing battle is because they're fighting the next phase, which is America first and being anti-Israel. That's the next phase. That's what we are transitioning into right now. And let's look at the results here. 5.5 thousand views. And how many of those views actually clicked on the URL? That's the question you have to ask. Probably not a lot, if I had to guess. 13 likes. So out of 5.5 thousand people who saw the post, they didn't necessarily click on it. They just saw the post. 13 people liked it. That doesn't sound like a group of people who are energized by the Blaze. They're not really being engaged by the Blaze. 5 shares. That's it. Not a whole lot of the 5.5 thousand people felt engaged and energized enough and compelled enough to share this post with their friends. They didn't give a shit. 5 people gave a shit. Out of 1 million followers that the Blaze has, 5 people gave a shit. A handful. 5. I can count them on one hand. 5. 6 people felt compelled enough to put comments. Let's look at the comments. 6 people. Let's look at the comments. Oh my God. Oh, out of the 6 people who gave a shit enough to put a comment, I stand with Candace. Like, we got 6 comments, guys. We're the Blaze. We're this multi-million-dollar media empire started by Glenn Beck, who was one of the biggest figureheads in all of American conservatism. And we get 6 comments, and one of those comments says, I stand with Candace. Here's another comment. Will you be getting paid extra for this one? Oof. What else does it say? This is just spam. So one comment is spam. One comment says questions bad. And I don't know what that means. Is it saying that this post is bad? Is it saying that the Blaze is bad? We don't know. One question is implying that the Blaze is getting money from Israel to bash Candace Owens. And one comment just straight up says, I stand with Candace. My friends, we are watching the death of old, standard, established conservative media. It is dying right before our eyes. Dying. The whole thing. The Blaze, PJ Media, Front Page Magazine, WorldNet Daily. Are they even still around? WorldNet Daily. Are they around? It's even worse than I expected it to be. It's even worse than what I expected it to be. Here's the official page for WorldNet Daily. Guys, WorldNet Daily was one of the most read websites in all of America. It was ranked at around 500 or so of the most read websites on Earth. You see, back in the day, there was something called Google Analytics. I'm not sure if it's still around, but Google Analytics was a website that you could go to where you could see what a website actually ranks out of all of the websites on Earth. So Google Analytics would tell you where your website stood out of all of the websites on the globe. So WorldNet Daily, I remember for years, WorldNet Daily would be ranked in the 500s of top most read websites on Earth. So it would be like 505th most read website on Earth. 505th or so most read website in the world. That was huge. They were on top of the world. Joseph Fata, the Lebanese guy who started WorldNet Daily, he was huge. They used to publish articles by Chuck Norris. That's how big these guys were. Let's see how WorldNet Daily is doing, shall we? Look at this. 1 hour ago, 201 views, 5 likes, 4 shares, 0 freaking comments. I mean, this is a disaster. 185 views, 4 likes, 2 shares, 1 comment. I'm waiting for the post that bashes Candace Owens. I'm waiting for the story, the article that bashes Tucker or Candace Owens. Where is it? Oh, they're bashing Michelle Obama. How typical. How original, guys. How really original this website is. 245 views, 3 likes, 1 share, 1 comment. Oh, I was waiting. I said, I'm waiting for the post that's bashing Candace or Tucker. Here it is. Speak of the devil. 208 views, 2 likes, 2 shares, 0 comments. So out of the 208 people who were scrolling through X and saw this lonely ass post in their feed, only 2 of them liked it. Only 2 of them shared it. This is a disaster. WorldNet Daily's dead. These websites are dead. They're just dead, guys. Dead. The Daily Wire. Now, the Daily Wire, I think, is still... It's still alive. Right? It's on maybe 2 or 3 more legs. Maybe it's missing a leg. It's still alive, but it's gradually dying. But let's see how WorldNet, the Daily Wire is doing. I mean, the Daily Wire isn't doing that great. Let's look at the Daily Wire. It's not doing that great. Now, it's doing a lot better than all the websites that I just showed you, WorldNet Daily, Front Page Magazine, American Thinker, etc. But look, guys, it's not doing so great. 2.5 million followers. 2.5 million followers. Massive media empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars, right? They were making movies. They offered Steve Crowder $70+ million in a contract. They are making, or I don't know about now, but they made ungodly amounts of money. Let's look at this, shall we? Let's take a look at this. November 12th, 93,000 views. Now, 93,000 views, okay, it's not the end of the world. But when you got 2.5 million followers and you got 93,000 views, 301 likes, 71 shares, that means out of all of these that means out of all the 93,000 people that saw this post, 301, a very small fraction, actually liked it. An even smaller fraction shared it. And an even smaller fraction actually took the time to put a comment. This is a disaster. Look at this. 33,000 views. Out of those 33,000 people who were scrolling through their feed and they just so happened to see this post from the Daily Wire, 59 people liked it. A very small fraction of the people who actually saw this post took the time to just tap the little heart button. 10 people actually took the time to tap that little share button. And only 8 people, I can count them on my hands, 8 people took the time to actually hit the little comment button and make a little comment. Now, where's the post bashing Tucker? Let's take a look, guys. 36,000 views. 67 comments, 16 shares. Ooh, ouch, ouch. They are crashing down. I was being way too generous when I said, well, they're like a chair. Maybe they got 3 legs instead of 4 legs. No. I think they're standing on 1 leg at this point. Maybe a half a leg at this point. I mean, they're really crashing down. Let's take a look. Let's look more into this. 33,000 views, 73 likes, 10 shares, 5 comments, 5. I can count them, not on 2, on one hand. Thank God I still have all my fingers. 5 comments. Look, they're bashing the left. The liberals with purple hair, they're bashing them. So unoriginal. 19,000 views. So this one got more views because it's just a video. It's not an article. 196 likes. This one's doing a little bit better. 20 shares, 29 comments. This one got more, 2.3 thousand. So this is oh, never mind. I spoke too soon. This is just a repost from Caroline Levitt. So this is not even their people. So we can just skip this one. Again, this one is not their people either. So we can just skip this one as well. So let's skip this one. Repost. This is a repost, so I'm not going to count this one. Here is one from the Daily Wire. 144 likes, 24 shares, 18 comments. I'm waiting for the Tucker one. I'm waiting for the Candace Owens bashing. Where is it? I'm not finding it. I'm shocked. Oh, they brought the guy who says that Israel's not doing war crimes. 23,000 views, 151 likes, 15 shares. Ouch. 18 comments. I mean, this is a disaster, guys. Ben Shapiro still gets decent engagement, but he's got 7.9 million followers. 7.9 million followers. And he's got, 30,000 comments. Not bad. 30,000 comments. But let's look at what he says here. No to the Groypers. No to cowards like Tucker Carlson, who normalize their trash. No to those who champion them. No to demoralization. No to bigotry and meritocratic horseshit. Okay, guys, this is the guy who's saying no to bigotry. This is the same guy who said Arabs only know how to destroy and live in shit. So now that he sees that bigotry is going against him, now he's against bigotry, but he's not against bigotry when it comes to being anti-Palestinian or anti-Arab. So he promotes bigotry and then he gets mad when the bigotry is done against him. And he goes on to say no to anti-Americanism. And what he means by that is no to anti-Israel first. That's what he means. Well, let's read the comments, shall we? This video has 30,000 comments, guys. 30,000 comments. Let's read the comments, shall we? All right, let's take a look at this. Here are the comments. Let's read them. Reminder, we would all be dead or have turbo cancer if we listened to Ben, my wife's a doctor, Shapiro. And it's Ben Shapiro saying, in other words, get the vaccine, dopes. Syrian girl says, you promoted ethnic cleansing and said that Arabs like to live in sewage. And you think you can catch out Nick as if you have some moral high ground? You supported a genocide. You will never be forgiven. Lauren Witzke says, you're laying off employees and closing departments. Tucker's interview with Nick is being viewed by millions, and he's making a killing in ad revenue. People are done being propagandized and listening to Israel First talking heads. You're clawing away, trying to keep what little relevance you have left. But it won't save you. The Shapiro era is over. You blew it trying to manipulate Americans into supporting your home country over their own. And she is absolutely right, by the way. Absolutely right. Hey, you remember that time when you told everyone to take the vaccine, Ben? They just hate this dude. They hate this guy. This guy is getting nothing but hatred. Debate Nick Fuentes and destroy him with your facts and logic then, Ben Shapiro. Now the world you can beat him. Now show the world you can beat him instead of avoiding him like you have for the past decade. You're the original never Trumper. Shapiro, I will never vote for Donald Trump. Here's why. Funny how you can't ignore Nick any longer. He's more relevant than you now. You lost, Ben. Get ready. You were never Trump and told people to get the COVID shot. You aren't MAGA. Get fucked. Why don't you debate him? Every clip you played is better and more honest than anything you say. Why would you think this was a good idea? No to Israel. You're a foreign agent that has no allegiance to America. Keep kvetching, Benny boy. I mean, this guy is done. This guy is done. It's over. That is it. It is done. It's not like, oh no, it's going to be over. No, it's over. That's it. This is the end. We are seeing the end of the pro-Israel media empire. Glenn Beck, I said the gays, the Glaze, or the Glaze. Sorry, the Blaze. Glenn Beck's media empire, the Blaze. I said the Glaze. Well, he's glazing Israel, so I guess you could call it that. But the Blaze, American Thinker, Front Page Magazine, WorldNet Daily, The Daily Wire, all these pages, Daily Caller, whatever, it's all going down. Louder with Crowder, it's all going down.